freedom of religion. And we too are a part of this nation. And we always have, and we always will be. Hate will not win, and all lives really do matter. For anyone who struggles to understand the trans or non-binary community, we ask that you think of it as anything else you may not understand. Go out there and get educated, do your research, attend some of these events that we have, and make it your point to resolve your misunderstanding so that we can all stand united as one race, one love, and one nation. Because we won't be erased. No. Thank you.
All right, I don't use a podium because I don't prepare anything. And for those of you that know me, when I say I'm not going to say much, I'm going to say a lot. In the program, it's got my name, and it says James River Transgender Society and Let's Talk. What's so important about that is their support groups. Everybody here has some kind of support mechanism right now. A lot of us need it, so use it. Okay? That's my first message. I'm white, I'm trans, I'm short, I was raised an Orthodox Jew. So a lot of what has happened recently affects me, like it does everybody else. I'm actually more scared right now about being Jewish than I am about being any of those other things. And you know, I meant to you, I don't practice my religion, but for any of you that may be Jewish out there, it goes beyond a religion. It's almost like a race. And I'm not going to get into that. When I was growing up, I was the only Jew in my elementary school, and I was friends with the only black person in my elementary school. And I always wondered, why do people hate her because her skin is different? And nobody ever explained it to me. And even if they tried, I wouldn't have listened. Because the color of our skin, genitalia, our chosen whatever path of life, our sexual orientation, our gender identity, is nobody's business but our own. And when people, politicians, sometimes religious leaders, try to dehumanize us, demoralize us, take away what little we currently have, it does rile me up. I'm on the Transgender Advocacy Speakers Bureau for Equality Virginia. That affords me opportunity occasionally to go to speak to religious communities. The importance of that, and I think some of our professional people that were up here earlier mentioned, it puts a face. You know, you can open a book and read all about African American history if you're a white person. And it's like, well, wow, you know, a lot happened. But if you don't have any African American friends, that book has no meaning. And it's the same way with transgender, non-binary, anybody in the LGBTQ community. You have to get to know one of us to understand all of us. And that's one of the things that I'm so grateful I got involved with Equality Virginia. There we go. And it's been great. You know, I've talked to a number of religious churches, a synagogue. I was more terrified going to speak to a synagogue than I was any of the other faiths I went to. But when I left knowing that these people had learned something. You know, in all of the ones I attended, not one person said they didn't know something about what it meant to be transgender. But when I left, they knew a transgender person. That's what it takes to get all of this crap. Is James Parrish here? No, I don't think so. He wouldn't like me saying that. But that's what it takes to get all of this mess that goes on in religion, in politics. We need to let people know we're human. One of the things I talk about when I do a presentation for Equality Virginia is the first thing I tell people is, I have a dog. Who else out there has a dog? Who has a dog? Raise your hand. Wow. You know, you'll find that anywhere you go. So if you have a dog and they have a dog, it kind of makes you equal, doesn't it? You know, it's kind of the simple levels. So I got, when this mess happened this past weekend, I had just come from, I don't know, 4th or 5th Equality Virginia ties. And it was a good one, the best one yet. They moved into a different location. It was bigger, a lot of people, and a lot of people got educated. There was a lot of people that had come to it that had never been to one. A lot of allies, a lot of non-trans, you know, I'm almost not going to use this thing. A lot of non-trans, cis people. So it takes more things like that. It takes all of you out here that are allies, and all of you, you know, how you identify with your gender, to talk to more people, to get them to come to something. This is wonderful. I mean, I've been to a lot of events in this hall, and this is like one of the biggest ones yet. So there's a lot of love in here right now. Give yourselves a hand for that. But what you can do is reach out to anybody and everybody. I've got a friend in Australia that is reaching out to people in her network, and she's not trans. She's just an old cis white girl that owns a motorcycle dealership. But yeah, and she's actually from the States, so. And, you know, she sends me messages sometimes like, what the hell's going on in the States? And it's like, I don't know, but you got room in Australia? You know, I read a Facebook post from a couple of friends of mine this morning, and they were seriously talking about moving to Canada. You know, for personal protection, that might be a good idea, but to get it to change, we need everybody to stay here. You know, those of you that know me, one of the biggest things that I say is, if we have 1,000 separate voices, we're not heard. If we have one voice, 1,000 decibels strong, we get heard a lot, okay? So, one thing I want to make a little comment about that Ted told me was okay. In 2020, you may hear my voice. So.
And I do need a podium. So when asked to come to speak today, I wasn't sure what words I had to share, what to do with the contradicting opinions of this isn't as bad as it looks to individuals looking at what countries would be easier to move to, often neglecting the implications of race and socioeconomic status that is not discussed in such dreams and visions, to the overwhelming fear and anger our community faces. I reflected on my individual experience and to those of my friends, loved ones, community, and clients I've worked with in different states over the last several years. I thought about as a teenager when I came out and the immediate isolation, violence, and discrimination I experienced, desperately questioning, is this life worth fighting for? Then I thought past those years to when I first met other trans and queer folks and witnessed something that is still ever present today. The friends I made, similar to me, all faced gaps unmet by the systems that held us. I had friends and strangers alike looking for shelter, looking for family, for medical care, for legal protection, a meal, transportation, looking for permission to live. Those institutions created to assist did no such thing for most of us, but we did. We opened our couches, our beds, our pantries, and wallets. We would combine efforts so we could find a car, gas money, bedding, and food. We would accompany each other to medical visits, court cases, the grocery store, so God forbid if one of us needed to pee, we knew where someone was. I was asked today to share what I was feeling and what I felt people ought to do. My answer is to reinvigorate the mutual aid that has always been there, to discover ways to bridge mutual aid that is inclusive and reflective, not just of our gender and sexual identities, but class, geography, race, ethnicity, ability, and language. I have mentioned ways that mutual aid can take place on a micro level, and there are meso and macro levels to affect change as well. We know that because of racism, sexism, heterosexism, transphobia, and homophobia, that Black and brown trans women and bodies experience violence and incarceration at astronomical rates. We know that there are ways to assist. There are pen pal programs, there are funding pages for bail bonds, child care, legal defenses. There are homes we can open our doors to when someone is released, when someone is trying to rebuild their life. There are opportunities to create community shared housing programs. There is your voice. If you are an ally, you must speak up. As many of you know, I am a nurse and social worker, so I must also speak to the medical community and implications of how we recognize gender, sex, and allowing government controlling our bodies and what must be done to them for legal recognition to be nothing but a violent act against reproductive justice and self-autonomy. I first want to say that there is no litmus test, no pathway you must follow to validate your identity. You are beautiful in your existence. No medication, surgery, social expression, or documentation should be required to prove someone is transgender. That being said, we know for most of us these steps plus many more are necessary for us to live and be our authentic selves. And when our administration and governing bodies make statements that attempt to erase our identities, these policies and agendas do far more harm than merely what is inside those written words. They give power to those that wish to inflict harm and hatred, that wish to oppress and erase years of anti-racist, feminist, and human rights work. There is comfort in showing your bigotry and hatred when reflected by legitimate governing bodies. We do not have to look any further than the statistics of hate crimes in our country and what has happened in our own state over the last 2 years. I know for those of us in the community, this can be a scary time, but what I want us to know is that there are folks who have your back. There are community members and allies. There are doctors, nurses, lawyers, teachers who want you to succeed and will fight with us. If you are an ally and you do not know what to do, come find me. Come talk to one of us. The organizations represented at this panel are a great place to start if you don't know where else. If you see a surgery, hair removal, documentation funding page, donate and share it. If you see policies in your workplace, place of worship, your doctor's office, dental office that are not inclusive, challenge them. You do not know what it is like to have to be the trans person who has to take on that fight when they are trying to get an education, at a doctor's office because they are sick, or at a court building trying to fight for their existence. You can and must challenge those systems. If you feel your office, your school, your practice needs training, then by all means demand it and make it happen. But understand the cultural tax when you asked us to speak to our identities and take on challenging and often traumatizing questions, only to see little action afterwards and being told we do not have funds to pay you. I challenge you to ask what other trainings you do not pay for and the message that is conveying. To the medical community, I ask of you to stop using our language in advocacy when we discuss gender and the social implications of it in ways to reduce our identity because science and biology are conflicted. There is scientific evidence and biology to support not only cis bodies but trans bodies as well, and I encourage you to eradicate the archaic dichotomy of not only gender as a social construct, but the archaic notion that our biology is dichotomous as well. I'm ending with a quote, but before I get there, I do have a plug for everyone listening. As most of you know, I work for the Virginia League for Planned Parenthood, and on November 10th at Strange Matter here in Richmond, we are hosting a benefit show to raise funds that will 100% be used to help clients who cannot afford our services access them for free or little cost. This would include medical visits for hormone treatment, medication assistance, and if we can raise enough fundings, could extend a fee assistance for legal documentation changes or other aids such as binders. If you are a cis ally, please show up, and if this is not your scene, you can still give us money. My plug also extends to giving to, as mentioned before, all of these organizations here and represented by our other panelists, and to deeply investigate and make sure you know if you are donating to national organizations, what those organizations stand for, and if you are unsure, to check in with your trans friends and loved ones if they are organizations that are worth giving your money to. My last message to my community is this: we are strong, resilient, and have fought this fight many times before. We must continue to be here for each other and find ways to live and fight that are not separated by identity. We must understand and join in our advocacy. Racism is a trans issue. Immigration is a trans issue. Environmentalism is a trans issue. Poverty is a trans issue, and we must fight together. Our divisions only support the agencies trying to divide us. My last words, slightly adjusted if there are any children in attendance, will be one from our trailblazer and elder, community leader, and activist that if you don't know, you should know, Miss Major. She wrote this after the recent announcement. So after 70 years, I'm here to tell you the system has always tried to break us. All us trans girls know we got to depend on each other, and when enough of us women come together, we can burn it down and use the ashes to build the mother effing mansions that we deserve.
My name is Micky of the organization Southerners on New Ground. We know this isn't the first time our government has tried to erase and ignore the resilience and strength of trans and gender nonconforming community. For many of us, this message is familiar. It's the dirty looks by strangers, discrimination at homeless shelters, schools and bathrooms, and funerals of Black trans women who are gone too soon. We are loved. As a Black trans non-binary person, I deal with the constant back and forth of how do I explain my gender to someone, if I explain it, will they even understand, and how does my race complicate that? My transness is a part of me just like my Blackness, just like my queerness. What I need from allies at this time is to not let this moment be the only time of concern for trans people. We aren't a project to pick up. We are resilient people who have been fighting for our lives for centuries. We have intersectional identities, and our problems do not begin and end with laws and legislation that omits or adds the word transgender. We are impacted when Muslim bans are implemented, when police harm and murder Black people, and when ICE raids our cities and towns. Collectively, let's not save trans people, but invest in our leadership and look at the ways the institutions we are already in are currently trying to write us out of existence.
Hi, my name is Quincy, and I'm only 17, but I've got some experience. Monday through Thursday, I'm in after-school activities that require me to be out till like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I take the GRTC, which means I rely on public transportation. And most nights, thanks to our new administration, I have to make an internal decision which hate crime would be worse against me, being Black or being trans. I'm afraid. It's hard because, people say, let a kid be a kid. But here I am speaking to you all as if I was an adult, because this affects youth as well. It affects me because I'm afraid at home. I'm afraid at school. I've got allies there, but all it takes is one person to mess up a trans kid's day, whether it be the wrong pronoun. Are you binding enough today? What are you today? And that can really make or break someone. And I've dealt with it for 3 years by myself now, and I feel welcome here today. I've felt in a while. And it's scary to know that there's some people who just can't fathom the fact that you are not what you were born as, that you want to be different, that you don't want to conform to some type of system that there is. and that they feel like it's their right to tell you that you don't belong and that you don't exist, and to question who you are and what you want to be. And to know that we walk the streets with these same people, we live with these people, we eat with these people, we shop with these people. We want to be, that basically makes us want to be by ourselves. We want to become isolated, because that way no one can hurt us and no one can try and take who we are away from us. And what I would like to say to cis or even allies or even people within the trans and non-binary community, text your friends. Tell them they matter. If you see something on Twitter, on Instagram, we do live in the social media era. If you see something, reblog it. Don't be afraid to get a part of this movement, because we need all the support that we can get. If you're 12, if you're 80, it doesn't matter. We need every voice that we can get, because like everyone's been saying, when we're all together, we are a force. We are a nation itself. That's pretty much it.
Hi, my name is Tyler. I'm 15, so not an adult quite yet. And for me, it's one thing knowing that people don't want you to exist and don't like you for being you. But it's one thing when it's shown to you every single day in your face that makes you not want to live any longer. For me, at home, I'm not welcome there. My family has given me death threats, told me that I'm not welcome there, will not drive me places, will not take care of me properly, will make me pay rent to live with my parents. I fail to understand that people make other people and don't want to take care of them anymore. And it's the little things that bother me the most nowadays. Being called the wrong name, pronoun, asking what are you today, what's wrong with you. Every little thing adds up and can ruin somebody's day. And I just fail to understand why people hate other people. And it's not even outside of the LGBTQ plus community, it's inside the LGBTQ plus community. The amount of binary trans people I see attacking non-binary people for no good reason other than they are not like them is the same thing non-LGBTQ people do to us. And I fail to understand why, because we're all alike. We have to stick together to make it through this. Because me by myself, I can do quite a bit, but all of us together, we can do a heck of a lot more. Being a force is more than just being trans. It's being a person, because we are all people, no matter how we look like, how we were born, where we were raised, anything. And in the end, we are all equal. And all I ask for the people here today is to make sure that we are treated like we are all equal, treat others how you want to be treated, and respect always. Thank you.
This is on. Hi, I'm Michael. I go by Micky, and I am 13. I wrote something down. I'm not going to use it. I feel like I just need to be here. First off, it is so empowering and amazing to see all of you here. And I really just am so honored to be here with all of you guys. So I'm in middle school. I'm an 8th grader, which means I'm headed as a freshman next year. And I've been out for, I think, going on a year and a half around now. So, yeah, my school is definitely not the most supportive of me, which is sad, to say the least. But I wake up every day, and I get ready, and I go. Because I know that I'm not going to be in middle school forever, and it's going to get better. And I know that everyone says that constantly, and that a lot of the times it doesn't feel like it's true. But I promise it is, because it's already gotten better in the past few months for me. This year has been a lot better. I got my name legally changed last year, but it really set in this year, which is really awesome. And I have a group of cis guy friends that, I'm one of the bros now. It's kind of weird, but, it's cool. It's nice. I go to Side by Side, so the other night at group on Wednesday, we talked about the issue that's going on. Never have I felt so emotionally vulnerable in front of so many people. I held one of my best friends as he cried in my arms, and it's terrible because I, more than anything, want them to be happy. Like, my happiness, of course it matters, but the people that I care about and that I love mean the world to me. So to see them being broken down by what's going on is terrible, and it's scary, and I want everyone to know that it's okay to be scared. Being scared isn't bad. The thing that makes you brave is that you keep fighting and that you keep going even when it gets tough or scary or just like you feel like you can't go anymore. So to ask of allies and other people in the community is just stand together. We, as everyone has said, we are much more powerful as a group, and we can do so much more as one. So I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for being here.
Hello, my name is Caden. I am part of the Youth Leadership Committee at Side by Side. This is my first time speaking to a crowd like this. Just recently deciding to be visible to people. I usually stealth, so it's new for me. For a lot of people in the community, this was a very sobering moment to realize that organizations and local businesses will be defending you and protecting you. But when I heard the news, it wasn't that big of a deal to me at all. As a person of color and transgender, it really didn't mean anything to me because at the time, hold on, I'm reading my notes, I'm sorry everyone. You got it. Thank you. Speak from my heart? Okay. It just didn't mean much to me because I'm out here as a black person and I'm freezing up, guys, I'm so sorry. Let me regather my thoughts real quick. I just want us to take away from this. There's a lot of things inside the community that are going on outside of what the Trump administration is doing. For me, I feel worthless in the community sometimes because I'm always having non-black, non-people of color speaking for me at these events. And although I appreciate it and I admire the resiliency from organizations and other people, I feel like I had to come out here today and speak for people of color because no one hears our own voices on these subjects. And it makes me so sad because I don't see representation for me and I don't feel a part of these things a lot of the time. And it just hurts so much. So if anybody can take anything away from this today, I just want you all to know that black people in the trans community need you. We need you to let us speak and to step down sometimes and to let us have our voices heard for ourselves.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zakia McKensey, and I'm the Executive Director of Nationz Foundation. I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon and listening and opening your hearts to what our administration is trying to do to our community. It took me a moment to truly think about what I wanted to say this afternoon, because I had to take some time to reflect on exactly what has happened in our community and our country. I had to think back about how we as people of color have been oppressed for many years, and how as a black community we stood together to overcome slavery, the civil rights movement. I thought about the many difficult things that has happened to our country over the years. I also reflected on the resiliency of our LGBTQ community and how strong we as a community, how strong we as transgender people are to walk in our truth unapologetically. How we can push through so many adversities in our history that this too shall pass. What we need to do as a community is come together. There's so much separation, segregation, oppression within our own community, whether it's by class, race, gender, or gender identity. There's also much power within our community. And if we truly stand in solidarity and truly unite, there is nothing we can't do as a community and nothing we can overcome. There are so many organizations out here trying to make a difference for and within our community. The time has come to truly stand together, put your biases aside, and truly show pride and unity within our community. For the white people with privilege, use it for good. Let's stop oppressing members within our own community based on race, gender, economical status. Leverage your resources and connections to support these organizations doing the work. Be supportive financially and by being present. Friday, I was here for karaoke and was disappointed by the lack of support for an organization that does so much to assist and provide a safe space for our community. The same level of attendance this afternoon is what it should have been here in this building on Friday night. Support these organizations like Diversity Richmond, Side by Side, Virginia Anti-Violence Project, Nationz Foundation, and all of the other organizations that are doing work in the trenches to make a difference and changing lives every day. We have endured a history of oppression as black, brown, transgender, lesbian, gay, and gender non-conforming people. And I think back to Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, and had it not been for them and their acts at Stonewall, the revolution for LGBTQ equality may not have taken place or even be where we are today. We must have the same passion in these times and use our voices. We celebrate Pride here in Richmond every September, but we need to show pride all year long. Stand with one another, show kindness to one another, and use your privilege to empower and support one another. Lastly, erase is a verb defined as to rub out or remove, referencing writings or marks. Also defined as removing all traces of, meaning thoughts, feelings, or memories. 45 can't do that. We cannot be erased. We're not writings or markings, and the feelings and memories and thoughts that our true loved ones and friends possess of us can never be erased. I know times seem difficult and uncertain. The one thing I know is that when we have been in this fight for a long time and we have endured, we will continue to endure. His time is only but 2 more years, just 2, basically 24 months. We can make it, but we truly have to band together, support our community, and truly unite. I want you to know, trust, and believe we are here and we will not disappear, and better days are coming.
So I usually have a couple rules for myself, one of which is to never follow Zakia. The second one is to never follow our youth. So I'm breaking both of them for 2 very special announcements. One, can we have another round of applause for our wonderful speakers, including Quincy, Michael, Micky, and Keri, that come side by side. And the other announcement that Larry reminded me of from Restoration Fellowship RVA on the break was November 6th. is Election Day. And one thing we need you to do is vote.
Yes.
I will not tell you who to vote for because that's against the law. But please look into candidates and what they stand for.
Yes.
And please, please, please don't just vote yourself. Bring your friends,
Yes.
bring your neighbors,
Yes.
bring anybody you can to the
Yes.
polls. We need everyone to turn out on November 6th.
Yes.
There's information and resources on the table over here, including information on voting. Be sure to pick up resources, hang out for a little while, make those connections. Thank you to DJ Statistics for providing the music for today, and thank you all again for coming out.